This is how it works. We just kind of flow into it.
Sorry. Oh, I deleted that first recording.
All right. Well,
sorry. Welcome to Opening the Vault. My name is Mason Banks.
this here is Dill Pickle Hoban.
And today we are
Go ahead.
opening another vault. We are interviewing Braulio Fernandez.
We're off to a tough start.
Gitalia DiFerretti.
Yes.
Can you pronounce that correctly?
Gitalia DiFerretti, or in a more accent, Gitalia DiFerretti.
There we go.
She doesn't speak Italian.
Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to be a guest.
It's been a 2-month hiatus, but we're back, ready to fill more deposit boxes and.
Yes.
Wait, did you forget your own gimmick?
Hey,
We're in.
and we're in. Yeah, so we're just here talking about acting. It's pretty informal.
Cool.
I know it feels really formal because I got an earbud in and I'm monitoring.
That does not
sound.
make it feel formal.
Grab water.
The water is very professional. We're here.
Only
We're
the
good.
best Ralph's purified drinking water.
You're welcome.
You know what? Some countries don't have Ralph's purified. As a matter of fact, this was probably taken from a country that doesn't have Ralph's purified.
All right, so I guess some simple questions. Like, who are you guys? Like, how did you guys get into acting?
Man, I was really tempted to make a Jean Valjean joke right there, but I backed off from it. My name is Braulio. I've been an actor for like 22 years now. I'm 24, so I started acting right away. I've been striving for public approval since I was born. I think I've mentioned this to you, Mason, that I've been performing my entire life in one way or another. And I'm an actor. I'm a comedian. I'm an improviser. Maybe not in that order. I guess. Yeah, no, in that order. I guess. I'm. A storyteller. So yeah, I guess that covers it.
And you, Gitalia?
Okay. So, interestingly enough, I had this conversation recently with my mother. When I was a kid, my mom was actually really nice enough to push me in a lot of artistic directions, and one of them was acting, and I actually really disliked. I was like, no, I don't want to do acting. I had really severe social anxiety growing up, and I tried it. We were doing A Christmas Story. Is that it, with Scrooge?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got the kind of lead part in that, and I was like, oh, this is easy. And she's like, oh yeah, we'll keep doing it. And I was like, okay. And I did. I ended up really liking it, and I continued in elementary. My first play got canceled because of the fires here in San Diego.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was really bad. And then eventually I started doing it in middle school. That was really fun. I played a villain. Super fun. Everyone was like, what? You're too nice. And then I was like, haha. Watch me.
That's always a good thing. No. I always feel that. That was like, I really liked my first big role in a musical was as a villain. And I always thoroughly enjoyed that because people have this persona, they're this perception of who you are. And so then you're like, bah! And they're like, ah! And you're like, yes! You know what I mean? Like, you really shock them. You could kind of shake them. Be like, yeah, I can change it.
It's super gratifying. Plus, I mean, it'll be a little bit side off, but playing villains are also super fun. Like, if I mean, I don't resonate with that. Like, haha, being mean to just anybody for no reason, but not caring about others and just kind of being selfish.
Yeah,
it's cathartic.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
So.
I played a villain in the last show I was in before the current show that I'm in. In the Tropics, 420 to 429.
That's a blatant plug. We are here at San Diego State, and we have a wonderful last weekend of performances for Anna in the Tropics.
Yeah.
Again, this Thursday through Sunday, April 26th through 29th.
Two people in the room are in that show.
Yeah, that's how I ended up becoming a guest here, because none of the good actors wanted to be here. I'm just kidding. Gitalia's here. No, but in all seriousness, I was a villain in the last show that I played. I played a a wrestler who is also an arsonist, and it was so much fun because I was just like, I got to be physically intimidating to a really close friend of mine, and it was nice. It was fun. It was different.
What type of wrestler was it? Was it Mexican wrestler? Was it WWE?
That's racist as shit.
That's why I asked.
The last show I just did, I was a luchadora.
Yeah.
And I'm the whitest
nice.
person ever, so.
Did you wear a mask? And
Yeah.
everything?
Man,
So
There's a
cool.
picture we can show.
I really
Oh,
wish
God.
I'd
Me too.
auditioned for that.
For
For-
Araceli?
I didn't even know about it.
It was
I
a fun...
really want to play a luchador. But I guess it's kind of goods off to like a different thing. Like wrestling's a huge part of my life and a huge part of like my theater experience. And we'll get into it later, but I have a hill to die on as far as professional wrestling as theater. But no, it was like because like the show was originally written around like it was written like post Nazis. Like it's about the rising tide of fascism and how it sneaks in metaphorically. And the concept is more of like a circus strongman wrestler type of thing. So it was like I just wore like a leotard and like a jacket. So it wasn't like a luchador or anything. That'd be fun.
Arsonist?
Yeah, Arsonist.
Cool.
What show was it?
It's called The Arsonist.
The Arsonist.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. It's a show I'd really like to do another time. Because just playing Joe was a lot of fun. So
Cool.
yeah. Yeah, villains. Villains are great.
Villains are
Sorry,
villains are fun.
like-
No, it's fun.
Like I think and this is just like me as an actor, and you're free to disagree, but I think every actor has a thing that they like playing. And for me, it's not necessarily villains. I love playing like your B character or your C plot character. I played Mercutio, and it's like the most fun I've ever had playing a character. I played Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet, and
Well, he's a great character.
it's a lot of fun because I'm a big dude, and I played him very small. Like I stole a lot of the mannerisms stuff, like Prince and Bowie and other like drug addicts, and that's where I really played. I played it very feminine, which I think was really a lot of fun. Feminine, but not like cartoonish, which I think can be a problem with Mercutio. And I wanted to play that specifically to counter the perception that like me being a big dude can give. So, yeah, I don't know where I go.
Yeah, like
Where from
we were
this?
talking about like types of roles
Yeah,
we
we're
like
talking-
to play, and I would agree. I would say like I started off with villains, like with you, Gitalia. I really liked playing villains. I still do to an extent,
Yeah.
but like the older I get, the more I do, the more I'm like maybe not this villain, maybe not the one that does the rape scene, you know.
Yeah.
Super thankful that is not what I am playing.
Yeah,
Sick.
but I like now. I enjoy the humorous roles, the ones where you're able to uplift the audience a little bit, and I feel like that's really important to keep doing in our society. I feel like maybe this is just the Mason segment for a sec, but I feel like there's so many plays that are trying to change the world and send out messages. And sometimes we forget we just need a simple raise up. Otherwise, we're just so locked in this anxiety of trying to solve these problems that we forget about actually living.
I think that's a good point.
I think just as a comedian, I guess, a comic, whatever the nom de plume is, like, it's really amazing how much like thought you can fit into a joke, and you can get away with a lot of things. You can have a lot of commentary and a lot of things, and you can walk away making somebody smile or laugh and question the way they see things. And we were talking before we started recording about Steven Universe, and it's one of the things that like really resonates with me about that method of storytelling. It's ostensibly a comedy, but it's very tragic, and it deals with loss.
So
and
many different issues.
identity, and it's very real. Like, characters are flawed, but they're very funny. And like Lars comes to mind. Lars is kind of a terrible person, but ultimately like redeemable, which is I think one of the really fun things about the show. Mason won't watch Steven Universe, and I really want that to. I want that to be public record.
Let's not. I have not said I won't. I just said I haven't.
He's hedging.
There's a
on
lot of
life
stigmas
line.
attached that I don't understand. I have
Okay,
friends.
so for our listeners at home who have not watched Steven Universe, like what would you? How would you describe the show?
Steven Universe is
premise.
a show about being fundamentally decent to other people.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful show that I
It's-
think all of our children are going to end up watching who've watched it.
It revolves around a human boy who's also part gem, and he has 3 other kind of guardians who are gem aliens, and they can shift their
They
body
can
or-
physicalize.
or they can have materialized weapons. And at first, the series comes off very silly, kind of nonsensical, but as the story progresses, it starts becoming realistic. Like, you start realizing or delving more into each character's background and their flaws and their difficulties and how they interconnect with each other. So I think that's why it's gotten a big fan base, or quite a big approval, or like
following.
support.
When I started the show, I think I binged it last summer. I think I binged seasons, what are we on, 4 now?
Yeah, we're on 4 or 5.
I binged 1 through 3 in a summer in a span of like 2 weeks.
I
never thought I'd be so invested in gem lore
Yeah.
when we're starting this show about like ice cream and nonsense.
Yeah, it's I think like one of the really just, I mean, I don't have any problem speaking about this publicly. I have clinical depression, so I do a lot of the things where I'll fall into binges, and some of them have been like really dangerous. Like when I binged The Simpsons for 2 straight weeks, and like I still have a really special place in my heart for The Simpsons, especially like seasons 2 through like
The older
9,
stuff.
10.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of heart in there. There's a lot of things that put me on a road to be in a better place. But Steven Universe came to me when I was in a really weird, dark spot in my life, and it came to me with a message of kindness, which I think is
It's genuine.
yeah, and it's a thing that I try to reflect in the storytelling that I do. I always try to I'm playing a character in On in the Tropics right now.
No spoilers because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean,
But you
this
can
is
talk.
this
Yeah.
is non-textual stuff
Sure.
too. So my character is on paper.
And who are you playing?
I'm playing Eliades, who is a cockfight promoter, which is great because you can just pull a lot of professional wrestling into it.
Pretty much.
But
There we go.
the things that I tried to do with the character was because my role got expanded slightly to like an ensemble type of thing, and I try to give the character a lot of life outside of the text. So the premise of the show, or the time setting, would make a character of my character's age range reasonably a veteran in World War One, and that's what I've really put into it. Just no spoilers, but a lot of the things that it's the war is a driving force in my character that I put in there for myself, because I feel like it was a way to explore the resonance of trauma. I think trauma is. I mean, I have a personal theory that you don't start doing this without something being wrong.
This meaning acting.
Acting.
as a
Storytelling.
career or art.
Yeah, like you don't come to art without something being
Sure, everyone's got their
wrong.
issues.
that's an interesting take. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
dissing
like-
on it.
I actually agree with that. I feel like most performers create art. Well, at least I do, for a sense of catharsis or a sense of release. And I think I have this teacher, and we talked about this thing in one of the first episodes that we ever did on this Opening the Vault podcast. But we talked about how there's like a couple reasons you do art. It's like for catharsis, for like art therapy, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because you want the attention, or because you enjoy just being the center of attention.
I think in a really fun way, I'm all three.
Sure.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's great.
I know personally, like, I've never not been on. You know what I mean? Like, especially like, I always try to be funny and personable, and it's not like a put on. I try to be myself, as raw and ugly and bumpy as it can be as a person, and which is in itself, I think, oh god, I sound like such a pretentious jerk, but I think it is in itself a way of performing, because a lot of people don't want to be everything that is themselves all the time. And I try to genuinely be myself all the time. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I do it all the time, but I do genuinely try to be as much of myself as I can be at all times. Does that make sense?
No, it's good.
It absolutely does. And actually, we've been doing these workshops with one of our teachers, and he
very Meisner intensive.
Yeah, Meisner intensive repetition, and kind of not about like allowing that kind of how you actually feel about yourself and about other people to actually come through
in the moment,
like right now, and like take everything personally, and like because there's this, I'm not going to name names, but there's this and I have this problem too. There's this gentleman, and he holds on to, he always has a persona up, and he can't let people see if there's something beneath that persona. There was a secret nod there, folks. Anyway, but like in our professor, you know, like there were several people who kind of engaged him, kind of called him out on it, but it seemed like he wasn't really changing. He was like, okay, you called me out on it, but it's kind of like, but like, I don't have to show you it. You know what I mean? And then our professor, at the very end of class, did the exercise with the student, and he was getting some stuff, and we could see him physically fight to knock up. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very illustrative of the power of the exercise, and maybe this isn't something you'd use in all types of theater, but it's interesting to know if I'm being just truthful as this in the moment, how does that feel and how does that look? You know? And you get just a great sense, I think, for being able to read people and see what their mannerisms are, and it's like, especially like I feel like these exercises you could do with like a potential scene partner, and then you know when they're feeling certain ways, and you can react appropriately, and then be like, oh, what, have these people been married for a long time? No, they've just done like an hour and a half of Meisner repetition. You know?
Which is that's a big thing that I'm gonna reflect on, because I mean we've been doing this workshop for a few weeks now, and there's definitely been a difference as the group's gotten closer with the Meisner work, because Meisner's challenging in itself, and I don't think you can just step into my thoughts are, you can't just step into a room with complete strangers and do really good Meisner work immediately. It takes that building trust, getting to know these people that you're working with and their tendencies, and that's where the true growth comes from.
I agree.
I see it. I see similar sentiments reflected in the way the cast for Anna has come together. Because we came in and we were kind of strangers. Yes. I mean, everybody was a stranger to me in this cast, because I'm sort of new to the program. But when we came in, everyone was polite and great and nice. And the cast is like at a different place now, and I think it reflects on the way we're on stage. Like, relationships that aren't in the text have been formed. Relationships between characters. I'm not talking about people. Obviously between people as well, but relationships between characters that aren't explicit on the text have been formed. I know I have a scene with you that has that is not in the text at all, and just kind of became a matter.
You've built it.
It came from circumstance.
Yeah, and it's a subtle interaction that doesn't really do anything else other than solidify these people as real.
These people
these are real people.
Occupy time and space together for an extended period of time, and that's what I really like about acting, and the way I tend to be very. I think I was talking to you about this earlier. I'm a very emotion-driven actor, and my personal philosophy comes from blocking not being as important as emotion. And I know that's not what everybody does, and I certainly don't think it's better or worse. I just know it's what gets me places. And because I'm a very emotional person, and I think I think it carries from the way I talk and the things that I'm passionate about, and my emotions are very much my first and most powerful reaction to things, I think. And I'm really interested, and I'm sorry to kind of interview you guys, but how do you guys feel about, like, what drives your acting? Are you more emotion or goal oriented, or I know some people are very specific about blocking and everything. Function comes from form for some people. So how do you guys feel about it? And open to the whole table.
I guess I would kind of resonate with you. Not exactly to the same extent, but yeah, we both came from a similar community college, and then we transferred here, and our professor, was very focused on emotions, and that's just something that also just would well up inside me and would come out. That's how I would just visualize it and try to, or even sometimes, maybe it's not the exact same thing, maybe I'm meshing two things together, but sometimes people say, go back to memories or experiences that you have experienced, and you can kind of invoke whatever that was within that time and apply it. And sometimes I try to do that as well. Yeah, of course, I don't have various situations that relate to whatever I'm acting to, but if I do, that just benefits it, or it just improves it even more. But yeah, more emotion-based. I did have another director, though, that was all about goal orientation. He said that, what is the motivation of your character? What is driving it? That was really beneficial. It was really helpful, but it's very hard because you have to actively remind yourself that, at least for myself. Like, when I'm running through lines, when I'm trying to read a character, I'm not thinking, what motivates this character? What is this character's desires? Like, it just feels you have to go out of your way to actively think that. So I see the value and merit to it. It's just a bit challenging right now, so far.
Well, in theory, I don't know if I've practiced this as much as I'm about to preach it. I believe in almost a marriage between the two, in a sense. I've found my most profound and visceral acting and cathartic for me has come when I've done a lot of this almost emotional prep work. So like what do you wants and stuff. So like when I first did Meisner, I had this teacher and we did the repetition exercises and stuff, and then we also did the scene study, and so you would do the repetition exercises and then you would put the actions and stuff and you would free write for like pages literally about one thing. Like if I was to free write about something in Hamlet, it would be his father, right? And so you just, how he feels about his father, about how you as Hamlet feel about your father. And so you would just go for pages and you would pick another thing in that scene and you would go and literally you would write just, it's supposed to be done so that it's just ingrained in you. So that emotion, how you feel about it, doesn't have to be thought of constantly, but it's there. And that's, so but recently I've been finding, I tend to lean back more on the back more on the goal and like what do I want, because I feel like for me personally that informs if I'm going to be active in the scene, because I've noticed I have a tendency to be a little bit like I can stand here but like I'm not going to be active and it's not going to seem like I'm doing anything or that I know that I'm doing anything unless I remind myself of that goal. So sometimes it's like, I'll remind myself like before a scene or something, what am I getting here? Or sometimes it'll change as the scene goes on. But I don't know, it changes. But I do agree that I feel like my most powerful work has been done from an emotional standpoint, or it's something I feel I already have a very strong opinion about, and then like somebody, like you're put in a situation and somebody's challenging you on that, and then you're like, no, and then it gets something happens, good or bad.
I think with me, like, so often I hear professors in the department saying you don't play an emotion, and it kind of confuses me because you play an action and you get your action verbs or whatever. And I guess for me, I haven't experimented with the action verbs enough to find use in them in outside of classroom context. I understand how that they're important, and in the context of a scene, you need to have an action in order to play a character that's interesting and have a purpose. Because if you're just up there giving lines, then that's boring. I guess what I go back to is the text and what are the words telling me. Bring that feeling, I guess the emotion, which is similar to what you guys have been saying. Oh boy.
This dude was like rapping over a beat earlier. I don't know if you guys heard it, but it was.
I didn't hear it.
I'm surprised.
Well, good for him. But just going back to the text, seeing what I can draw from it, seeing what my scene partner is giving me, and really just reacting to that. Oh, is she just yelled at me? What does that make my character feel? I guess kind of the Meisner stuff is what I've been noticing. It's hard in the context of a Meisner exercise to understand it, just because it's such a ethereal concept to be just observing and repeating and reacting. But then in the concept, you bring that to the scene, and it makes so much more sense given the text. I don't know. I think I focus on the text a little too much.
I think what the Meisner does is especially if you do it consistently, is it encourages you to be completely honest and to
follow your motivations.
Follow your motivations and your impulses in the moment, unafraid of whatever judgment is going to come your way, which I feel like is very important in making choices. And I feel like those choices are what they can seem more genuine. And then if you're making choices based upon that in the moment, even if it's wrong, then the director will be like, okay, find something else. And then then that's when you go back and maybe you try something else. It's like another teacher had said that these are all little tools that you put on your tool belt. Put out the Meisner maybe to start and just be unafraid to do work, and maybe even in a callback, and then from there, if it doesn't find it's working with the director's vision or their style of directing or the tone they want, then you go back and you be like, okay, well maybe I'm going to just do personalization exercises, connect these things. It's as if like this happened to me, or to my mother, or and ultimately I believe they're all just tools. I feel like it's good to constantly do stuff like this to keep us going and growing and flexing, honestly.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with some more delicious knowledge and conversation.
Awesome.